The legend goes that if you sit upon the throne of the little people, you will die in 7 years. Well, almost exactly 7 years ago, 3 friends and I did just that. 2 of them died yesterday in separate incidents across the country. Back then, we were college buddies and ghost hunters. Abandoned asylums filled with asbestos, Civil War era graveyards, and haunted railroad tracks. Nothing scared us. Only one thing ever did, and that was the village of the little people. It's in Middlebury, Connecticut, not far from a restaurant called Maggie McFly's. The first semester of our senior year was ending, and on the way back from a road trip to New York, we decided to go for a ghost hunt. A website called Damned Connecticut revealed the GPS coordinates of the Little People's Village, just a 20-minute detour from our route home. It was the last thing the 4 of us would ever do together. The village is in the middle of a forest. You may miss it because it's quite small. Doll-sized houses fill a clearing in the woods. Little pathways connect the houses to each other, and then all the pathways lead to a single point: the throne. Unlike the houses, the throne is human-sized. We read about the legend on the website. Sit upon the throne and you will die in 7 years. And one after another, we all sat upon the throne, taking pictures and joking. Since we now had 7 years to live, we might as well make the most of it. I was the 3rd to sit, and the first 2 who did are dead. What scared us that day happened on the way out. As we were leaving the forest, it was a foggy night, and we all carried flashlights. As we walked, little footsteps pattered on the ground several yards behind us. Someone or something was following us. With our flashlights, we turned around and scanned the area, and then we all saw something none of us could explain. In the distance, several pairs of eyes glowed in the darkness, as if it belonged to creatures the size of a doll. And when we shone our flashlights upon them, the creatures scampered away, their footsteps pitter-pattering. Laughter, like that of children, echoed through the woods. We ran back down to the car and drove away. One of my friends claimed she got a good look, that she clearly saw a little person. I still remember Hannah's words. It had the body of a baby doll, except its hands were just fingerless stumps. All I could see of its face were round, glowing eyes. The ride home was awkward. Our other 2 friends reasoned the eyes belonged to forest animals, but I could tell they were shaken up, and I didn't know what to believe. Hannah didn't back down, insisting that she saw a little person, and I did my best to support her without taking sides. I think Hannah felt bad that we didn't believe her, because she stopped hanging out with us after that. It was nice to have a girl in our little group, especially one as cool as her, though after graduation, we all drifted apart anyway. One friend became an engineer, the other a doctor. Hannah, I have no idea what happened to her. She seemed to drop off the earth. And myself, I never amounted to much. Despite, or maybe because of, majoring in astronomy, I work at Starbucks. I always dreamed of becoming the next Neil deGrasse Tyson, or maybe just starting an astronomy YouTube channel. But aside from owning a few telescopes, I don't do much with my passion. If I live past this day, I promise to make something of my life. If I live. At 6 p.m. yesterday, I got a call that my doctor friend was murdered while out for a morning jog. He lived in Washington State. Then, at 9 p.m., I was informed that my engineer friend was killed while he walked home from work. He lived in Atlanta. Shocked at this turn of events, I checked the local news in each area to find out more. The description of their deaths was eerily similar. Both were found with their hands amputated and their blood drained. What are the chances? About an hour later, Hannah knocked on my door. Her auburn hair was shortened now, but her smile was just how I remembered. Most striking, she was gym fit and 25 pounds lighter than when I knew her. Back then, she was the cool girl that would hang out with the guys, but never the girl we wanted. To be honest, though I never admitted it, I always felt a sense of comfort and warmth when I was with her. We sat on the couch of my little apartment and exchanged pleasantries. "Have you heard?" she asked. "It's really sad and so sudden," I said. "I haven't had time to process it." "It's the curse. The little people are coming for us." I didn't know what to say. "Let me make you a coffee." So I used my most proficient skill and made us coffee. "I drove 4 hours to come see you," and I sipped the steaming mocha. "I was so worried that they got you too." "You could have called." "I came because we have to go back, together." "To the little people's village? If we're cursed, wouldn't going to their home make it easier for them to kill us?" "You don't know the whole story." Hannah explained. After witnessing a little person, she did a lot of research, even returning to Middlebury to speak with the locals. That land was once owned by a doll maker. The doll maker was known for creating the most lifelike dolls, and no one could figure out how he made his dolls with such a realistic appearance. It was rumored that he prayed to an ancient pagan god to infuse his dolls with the souls of the damned, which gave them their realism. The doll maker was a perfectionist. For each doll he completed, dozens were discarded for the most minor imperfections. But unlike most doll makers, he didn't just throw the dolls away. He would cut their hands off to keep them as memento of what he had created, and bury the bodies in the forest. One day, the doll maker began to hear voices. The voices told him to build a little village, and so he did. The voices also told him to build a throne for their king. "But what exactly makes a throne cursed?" I asked. Hannah had finished the coffee and looked wired. Her eyes were bloodshot, probably from lack of sleep. "The dollmaker mistakenly thought he was the king and sat upon the throne. 7 years later, he cut off the hands of his wife and daughter, drained their blood, and then slit his own throat. I even have a newspaper clipping from that event almost a century ago." "Okay, so we committed the same sin as the dollmaker, and now we're cursed?" I said. "What do we do about it?" "I don't know, but we can't just wait for them to get us. That's why we have to go back and beg their forgiveness." Hannah jiggled her car keys. "You have a better plan?" Truth be told, I didn't need a reason to road trip with Hannah. During the 2-hour drive to Middlebury, we reminisced about our college days, and even joked that we could have been a couple. We talked about how funny it would have been if we were secretly dating, and none of our friends knew it. As she suggested, we could sneak a kiss when their backs were turned, or as I suggested, have a quickie behind a tree while out on one of our ghost hunts. It felt good to joke around with Hannah, despite the circumstances. Once we parked in the off-road near the forest, I felt a sudden, crippling rush of fear. As if the road trip with Hannah had been a warm dream, and I'd just awoken to the cold reality of what we were about to do. I couldn't even open the car door. My heart was pounding against my chest, and I could barely let out a breath before I had to take one in. "Let's go back," I said. "Please, let's just go home." Hannah put her arms around me. "You were the third to sit on the throne. That means you'll die before I do." She hugged me. The tears wet my cheeks. "I can't let that happen." We held hands as we walked through the forest, our flashlights illuminating the way. It was a foggy night, like the one 7 years ago, but far colder. And as we approached the village, it felt like with every step, the temperature dropped. The terror of what awaited us chilled my blood. Hannah was my strength. In her beautiful hazel eyes, there was no fear, only determination to do what must be done to save both our lives. Little eyes glowed in the dark ahead of us. I wanted to run, but Hannah tightened a grip on my hand and pulled my frozen body forward. We shined our flashlights on the eyes, and they disappeared. Only the little houses remained to be seen. And there was the throne. It towered over and faced the little houses. The throne seat was a broken mess of stone, and the back of the throne was a ruddy, rectangle slab. A withered tree hung over it, its dead branches scraping the stone. Hannah dropped to her knees and bowed before the throne. "Hannah, what the hell are you doing?" She bobbed up and down and chanted something in a language I didn't understand. It sounded like backwards Latin. "Whatever you're doing, it's not funny." She kept chanting backwards Latin and bobbing her body. Something was very wrong. I turned to run. A sharp pain flared in my shin and I fell. My flashlight flew out of my hand. A little person with a knife protruding out of its stumpy hand as if it was a finger had stabbed me. Its body looked like a baby doll, but there was something odd about its face. Parts of it looked plastic, while the other parts were a patchwork of stapled-on human skin. It stabbed my leg again, while laughing like a child. Pangs of pain pulsed through my body. "Help!" Little eyes appeared all around me. There was someone sitting on the throne. It was too dark to see anything but his aura. Hannah was talking to him in that backwards Latin. He spoke in a hushed but deep voice that burned my ears. "Hannah!" She wouldn't even look at me. "We have to get out of here!" The man on the throne rose and walked towards me. He had no hands, only stumps. The flesh on his face barely had skin. Where his nose should have been, there were 2 holes. Around his neck hung 4 human hands, as if they were his ornaments. And he wore a crown on his head made of glitter and gold. Then I saw Hannah. She wasn't 25 pounds lighter. She was a skeleton. Her pale skin on her face clung tightly to her cheekbones. Her ribs were so clear they almost poked out of her chest. And on her head was a gleaming silver crown. The next thing I remember was waking up in my bed. My work alarm had just gone off. My leg hurt like hell, but it had been bandaged and I could walk just fine. There was a letter on my bedside table. "Being with you made me so happy. I will treasure our time together forever, because where I'm going, there will be no more happy moments. The king has forgiven you. Never return and never come looking for me. Live for the both of us. Love, Hannah." I went online and researched everything I could about the Little People's Village. Aside from Damned Connecticut and a few other websites, There was nothing substantive. Judging by Hannah's letter, the less I knew about the little people and their king, the better. All I really knew was that a curse had killed my friends, and I was supposed to be next. But then Hannah saved me. I owe it to her to live my life to the fullest, the life she gave me. I picked up one of my telescopes and wiped off the dust. One of these days, I'm definitely going to set this baby up and do some stargazing. Maybe I'll even upload a video of what I find to YouTube. But that had to wait. I put the telescope down and picked up Hannah's letter. I read the first paragraph again. Being with you made me so happy. I will treasure our time together forever, because where I'm going, there will be no more happy moments. I realized I couldn't let things end this way. Despite a warning, I'm going back to Middlebury to find her, to the little people's village, to the throne, because I know one thing for sure. I love her. After I sat on the throne, I had 7 years to live, yet in those 7 years, I barely lived. Even if I have to face the king, I will save Hannah and let her know how I feel. I won't waste my life anymore. I won't be afraid. From now on, I'll live every day like it's my last. Because today, it just might be.